Hey, what's up, Bubba Army? Let me here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, do whatever to get our YouTube out there. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. When you do that, you're going to get alerts from when we post great content. There's a lot of good shit up there that you got to check out. Bubba Army for life. America. Woo!
Joe Rogan. I feel for Joe.
Segue.
Love my life.
I really feel for Joe. Because,
Bad?
Yeah, because Joe used to be able to let it rip. And then in letting it rip, Joe realized that when you let it rip, these people that you make a lot of money from can blast you at any time.
Well, he came out like a week or so ago and said that's why he left YouTube, period.
Right. So Joe was making a zillion on YouTube with a, podcast kicker. You could get it anywhere. You could get the Joe Rogan experience virtually anywhere. Like you could just find it anywhere.
You could still get clips of Joe Rogan on YouTube, but not the whole episode.
Just little clips.
And he just, but you could get your fix of Joe. You could, through YouTube and through podcasting and stuff like that. You could get your fix of Joe, and Joe could say anything he wanted. Joe could just let it rip. And the reason why Joe got so popular because he did let it rip. Like he's like, hey, Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla, super important guy. Let's get high.
Smoke this.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah.
Smoked blunts.
And people are like, that's why we love Joe Rogan. Because Joe Rogan don't give an F. So Joe Rogan just doesn't give an F. Talks about licking frogs and hallucinating, and he's just like the coolest dude ever. I love the guy. I love him. Like I could not be any more happy and proud of Joe. But now, so when Joe's letting it rip, right? And he's becoming Joe and what he's most noted for letting it rip, while he's making a ton of money, the forums that he's on, YouTube and other things, are starting to not let him monetize and say various things because it's against their, you guys follow the CDC guidelines. Because we've all become a bunch of pussies. We're all just scared of who's going to potentially be upset over what one of our hosts say, so you just shut them down.
Yep.
That's why regular radio doesn't have a Howard Stern anymore, and that's why regular radio, for the most part, doesn't have me even. I'm too much for iHeart. I'm too much for Beasley. I'm too much for Intercom. How I roll, just this stupid stuff that I spew out is still too abrasive for the average. I mean, you got to be like a John Caracciolo or a Lynn Martin or, the guy in Phoenix. You just got to have some ball. Bruce Midori. You got to be an independent radio operator that's got some balls. Shane Reeve. You're never going to hear us on a big-time corporate distributed deal because they're all a bunch of pussies and they're all afraid. And so Joe, here he is killing it. And within the world that he's killing it, that world starts to change. Hello, Joe Rogan Show. Yeah, this is YouTube. And we know we pay you like a whole bunch of money and you're worth it because you get a zillion listeners. And my God, but we're going to have to demonetize the last 5 videos that we're talking about. Donald Trump being a pretty good guy and Joe Biden being a horse's ass. Because we're now into the political deal and we're into the CDC deal and we're afraid.
Yeah, but it's not that Joe Schmo was calling him out. It was Anthony Fauci was calling him out.
No, but what I'm saying is they're calling him out on his opinion. And whatever distribution he has before he cut his Spotify deal. This is prior to him cutting his Spotify deal. So while he was still on YouTube and still on Podcast One and just all the places he was at, Blitz, they slowly start squeezing him and not letting him truly speak his opinion.
Half the time,
there should be no wrong opinion.
Half the time, it's not even his staunch opinion. He's just kind of spitballing and rolling through.
Yeah.
He's working through something. And he's talking out loud.
Right. He's just a dude. He's a rugged. He's not a doctor. He's not a nothing. Well, he has to, and he admitted, had to leave the sexier, more widely distributed world that he was in,
That he was probably making more money at,
that
by
he
the
was
way.
probably making more money at, and go down and cut a deal with Spotify, which was, by the way, a deal that anybody would want.
$1 million.
Like,
Well, I mean,
$100
not
million a year?
necessarily.
Well, I'm just saying.
He's making probably a little less money, and he's nowhere near as popular as he was.
Well, whatever. He's still making a ton of money, Blitz, never to have to worry about money again.
For sure.
Okay.
Oh, there's no question there.
He's got FU money.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Wait, he's making less than he did?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. And there, so, hold on. So the world that he's making probably 50, 60, 70 million a year. The YouTube world, the podcast one, all the distributions. They start screwing with him.
Well,
And so what's made him, but what's made Joe is that Joe just is got some balls about himself, and he's gonna say stuff that's going to upset people. But the places that he's distributed, they start getting a little bit of heat, and then they demonetize you, and you no longer can really rely on being the way you are, being very outspoken, saying it like it is, and that not being a way for them to put you in a timeout and not get you paid.
yeah. Well, so technically, they actually didn't do any of that to him. He's decided to leave before they could. He was worried that they would.
Right. And I think they had on a few things.
Not YouTube had not.
Well,
Spotify
anyway,
has been way more censorship than YouTube has.
yeah. So anyway, he says, now the only reason why I talk about this is because Joe, if you were to predict what YouTube would do over saying something like that, we can tell you what would happen because it happened to us.
I know he was right. They would have.
And so we got on the air a couple weeks ago with Dan, a doctor, and and by the way, we take some of our shows and put them up on YouTube as in a best of type deal. And we put within our best of show, one of our Saturday best of shows, we posted our opinions of COVID-19. And at that point, I hadn't contracted COVID-19. And at that point, we were contemplated as to whether we were going to get the vaccines or not. At that point, we had a doctor in the studio who has treated 41 people. At that point, we had had 5 or 6 people in the building who had not contracted COVID yet. And we, at that point, were contemplating as to whether we should, as healthy people, get the vaccine. We're thinking, and collectively, we're like, I don't think we're going to get it.
If we don't have to.
If we don't have to. And then Dan comes up with some fancy medical stats. Hey, listen, I've had 41 patients. I've treated them this way. I've used ivermectin. I've used this. I've used that. I've used zinc. I've used B6. I kick it in with a Z-Pack.
Hydroxychloroquine?
Some hydroxychloroquine. And I've had 41 patients, and all 41 have not died and gotten over it and done pretty well. That's all we said. They're like, yeah, we might not get it. Well, Joe, 2 days ago, starts talking about, I don't know if I'm going to get the vaccine. I don't know if we should get the vaccine. I mean, I don't know. He's not saying, I'm Joe with a lab coat on. I'm Joe Rogan that went to UCLA medical school. I'm Joe Rogan. I'm Joe Rogan, who's a fight commentator, who's a pretty rugged dude and a pretty great communicator. A guy's guys, if you will, that'll smash you in the face with an elbow and tell you a joke. And that's all I am. I'm not trying to be an expert. Well, I guess Spotify or somebody called Joe up and gave him the good news. Hello, Joe Rogan compound. Hey, this is Spotify, and listen, you need to tell Joe that he's got to play the boogeyman deal on this Vaxo. Why? Because we're Spotify. We're paying you, 10, 15, 20 million a year, and that's how we roll. We're bought and paid for like everybody else is. We're scared. And Moderna and Johnson & Johnson with a Pfizer kicker is going to put $1 zillion advertising on our show. Oh, okay. We'll tell Joe to change everything. Hey, this is Joe Rogan, and you know what? Listen, I'm not a doctor or nothing. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I think maybe vaccinations might be good. Blah, blah, blah. When Joe Rogan can't even really say it like it is, then who can? Tucker Carlson's on the verge of getting it taken away, too. I'm a little bit worried for Tuck. He's kind of my friend, like a lot, and he's running real loose right now. I'm afraid, Blitz, that Fox is going to absolutely just
Well, they seem like
Why?
they got his
Ratings
back.
have never been higher.
Doesn't matter, Anna.
They don't. They're
When
scared
you don't
that
have, when you
advertisers
don't
are gonna
have,
pull?
when Mercedes pulls, and when Jaguar pulls, and when Disney pulls,
What
when
did he?
McDonald's
what did he say?
pulls.
Did he say something yesterday that I missed?
No.
Just everything he's been
Just,
saying.
he's just
okay.
going. I mean, he's just really, pushing on the gas right now.
I got you. Yeah.
And it's just like it's quickly. Our whole world is dwindling with people that can really just kind of give it to you. Yeah, you can't even really be an opinionated person anymore and be in the media. Like,
Well, you
remember back-
can. You
no,
just have to have the right opinion.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Tell me of a very, very, very large and sexy distributor of content that will let you absolutely let it rip.
CNN.
MSNBC.
No.
Yeah, as long as you give their opinion.
Yeah.
As long as you're on their
CBS
side,
News.
you can say whatever you want.
Blitz, again, that's not how I framed up the question. I framed up the statement by saying anything that you want to say completely off your mind. Like there's nowhere.
Well,
I mean, they're private companies, so they can kind of control what you're going to say.
But what I'm saying is these private companies used to stand behind their opinionated talent, and that's what made
Some of them did.
those opinionated talents good.
Yeah.
You know, when Randy Michaels would get a call, hello, J-Core, iHeart, Clear Channel, whatever. Hello, this is Jimmy Chevrolet, and we don't really agree with Bubba having women make out with each other. We're going to pull. All right, well, we're sorry it didn't work out for you, Jimmy Chevrolet.
Mm-hmm.
But we stick by Bubba. But see, the problem is
Pre-social media.
only Jimmy Chevrolet picked up the phone and called. Some person that hates your guts, that has, a TikTok, with an Instagram, with a Twitter, with a Facebook, with a Reddit, with a Yippee-Yo kicker, can just absolutely destroy your life with just the hit of one button, right? Dear, J-Core, iHeart, whatever.
Right.
We are going to officially boycott the following, and then they tag all the advertisers.
That's the difference between now and then. Is there was no social media back then. You actually had to write. You get pen and paper out and write each person individually.
Dear whoever, we hate you. We're not gonna. Or you just get on your little telephone and you actually include every one of their sponsors because you've listened to the radio for 3 days and written them down.
Mm-hmm.
And then you tag all them and say, I'll never go to your place again.
if this person is employed.
And I don't agree with the fact that Joe Rogan said he is just a stupid stupid commentator.
And by proxy, you're supporting him if he says something outrageous.
Right.
So.
And so the bottom line is, since you're not pulling your advertising from Joe Rogan, I will no longer buy Johnsonville bratwurst ever again. And that's how it works.
Yeah.
And then Johnsonville bratwurst and corporate America and everybody else is all scared because some guy who lives in the basement at his mom is Mississippi and masturbates to kids porn also is mad at Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan, respectfully. Meanwhile, this loser couldn't buy a package of Johnsonville bratwurst if his life depended on it. It's all just it's who's got the strongest troll game. For real.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Rogan, I think you're one of the most talented men. I think you're brilliant. And I'm so sorry. Now you know what I have to go through, Joe. Everybody hates me. All my stuff's crazy. I'm insane. I'm on pills. I mean, that's all true. And there's a guy who's going to kill me at the state fair today.
Fish on
Joe
1,000
Rogan,
bits.
Joe Rogan, it's so bad for me, Joe Rogan, that I can get a crazy guy actually call an attorney and say, I'm going to kill Bubba. I'm a murderous mother effer with 2 under my belt and 8 in the clip. I'm a former police officer. I gave my real name, Kelly Kirkland, and here's my phone number, and I'm going to kill Bubba. And they won't even do anything with me. So I feel you, Joe. I'm all for getting the vaccination, too. Even though I had corona and I got through it, I'm a vaxxer. Vaccinations are good. We're getting a Pfizer endorsement next weekend.
Stage 7.
I had stage 7 corona. I fought it, but I better get my gosh darn shot now, hadn't I? And I better get on the air, and I better say that I'm continuing to be scared of this. And even though I got a zillion white trash antibodies built up, I must get the Moderna, the Johnson & Johnson. I'm going to be the first guy to get all 3 of them.
There you go.
And don't forget to wear your mask.
And I'm very scared because I'm going to wear my mask everywhere.